Stars align for you and me.
Easy going, unaware how to find, and realize not really talking. Running my way through the storm. I finally found it on my own. Wondering how for too long I feel like I can't be free from all this pain. Wondering what to do now. Turning aside and change the way I feel. Tell me you want it, tell me you need it. I can perceive it, 'cause I know you feel it. But all I know is something on me to change this way I'm feeling for myself, yeah. Easy going, unaware how to find,
I began my day, started my hustle and bustle. I forgot to say some things to you. I forgot to say. And then again afterward, when I got home, baby, I spent so much time on the phone. I was just trying to pay these bills, and that's frustrating too. So once again, I forgot to love on you. So please forgive me and hear my plea as I sing these things I should have said to you. I love you. I need you. You rock my world. You look so beautiful when the sun hits your face. You make my day. You make my day, my day. You make my day.
Oh, listen here, buddy boy. The only thing I'm concerned about is your inner joy. Take all the moments that you need, yeah. I'll be there. And when you ease up, I'll be there to help you free up. It's nothing. I tell you 'cause you're something.
I love
Oh, yeah. I know you do.
you, rock my world.
Oh, I'm so glad that I do it for you.
You look so
Oh, yeah.
beautiful
Ooh, yeah.
when the sun hits your face. You make my day. These are the things I should have said.
Oh, why do you worry so? I know that you know I love you.
And I hope that it's not too late.
Why would you ever think that I'll always
it's not too late,
understand
baby.
you?
I should have said. These are the things I should have said. Oh baby, please give me one more chance. Oh, I promise I'll never forget.
Forget to do work. There's no need to beg. 'Cause I know you treasure what we share. Every day, there's no need to beg to do. 'Cause I know you treasure what we share. Every day, you gon' grow. Yeah. Oh, I know you treasure what we share, and you dare to grow with another, further there, further there.
I should have
Yeah. Turn it up, y'all. Turn it up, yeah. up, love. Turn it up, love. Turn it up, love. Yeah. You out of there. Y'all know y'all out of there. Yeah, come on with the riff. Y'all making the funk. Y'all know y'all out of there. Come with it. Get live with it.
Dreamer, dreamer, don't let it die. All those things you had planned, you still have time. Don't let life break you down, he can turn it around. All you have to do is believe. Oh, baby girl, don't you cry. Yeah, keep your head up high. Oh, keep on looking to the sky. Oh, don't give up, keep dreaming. Yeah, don't stop dreaming. Just cause it didn't happen this year don't mean it's over. I know you're tired of crying them tears. You thought you'd be further. Been a year since granddaddy passed. Trying to stay positive while looking at the facts. I know it be like, geez, man, but there's more to this than you and I can see. Trying to come up, but lick, the lick. You think you dreaming too big? Nah, don't trip. Dream big, dream lit. He can't do it. Don't have to stay where you are. Now sis, either way, keep your eyes on the prize. Brush your shoulders off, stay up, fly high. Think it's over, not even close. Don't buy into it. Let them talk, as for you. Oh, baby boy, don't you cry. Yeah, keep your head up high. Oh, keep on looking to the sky. Up, please don't give up, keep dreaming. Keep on dreaming. Yeah, don't stop dreaming. Don't stop dreaming, don't stop dreaming, yeah. Stop dreaming. Don't 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 stop dreaming. People, don't you cry. Yeah, keep your head up high.
as I could.
We're on now.
I just wanted to get into it.
Then go right to it.
Let's
If you ready, we ready.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I'm not sure how you're doing, but well, we're doing just fine. We're in this room. There are several lights on us, and one of the lights that we're going to shine is that we're sorry that we're not on time. But you're here, and since you're here, you might as well talk to us. We are none other than the Logic Based Collective, and so we are here. For those who are watching on the Digital Boombox Network, welcome. Everybody who's watching via the Logic Based Collective page on YouTube, welcome. Everybody who's watching on Soft Spoken Prophet TV, I'm glad that you guys had an opportunity to tune in. Welcome. So,
Yes, he just saying welcome.
we're gonna go. We're gonna go around the room to find out how everyone has been doing since last Monday night. So you know. I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say. So we're gonna start with Siobhan. Siobhan, how are you doing? How's your weekend been? Give me a little less game.
I'm good. Yo, I don't like rain, and it's been raining for the last 3 days.
Fall.
Yeah, I'm not with it. It's been cold too. I've been contemplating putting the heat on and all that. Like it's been I had a good weekend. It was filled with fun activities, and it was nice. And then I kept looking outside, and I got mad every time. So yeah, it was a very interesting weekend for me in terms of that. But I am blessed, and I feel pretty good.
That's awesome.
No.
How was your weekend? How was your weekend, sir?
Well, I don't remember which camera I am anymore. Oh, there it is. All right, cool. My weekend was good. What did I do? I'm trying to remember. What was last weekend? Last weekend we had. Actually, that was yesterday. I'm thinking of a whole nother week. All right, so yesterday we had church. We did. I went to I think it was the Empower Her conference. No, not the Empower Her conference. It was a Denim and Jean service at Victory Temple. So I helped and played over there. It was a great time in the Lord.
Oh, the pass the mic thing? Or
Yeah,
something?
pass the mic.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Thank you, because I wasn't paying attention apparently. My bad. But yes, the pass the mic service. And one person ended up getting saved, so that was a plus.
Nice.
Like he was talking about his story, and that he just kind of was hurt on the inside, but didn't know how to express it. So he put on like a fake facade and a fake face, and he said he just hated himself because of it, and he got relief yesterday. So we all praise God for that. That was a shouting moment. And then so I mean, what else did I do? And then I did the sound system for one of the local churches in the area, so to make sure they're all set, and I gotta go do another church. So we staying busy.
You busy.
Working.
Nice.
That's what's up.
Have the high time in Jesus.
Right.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many jobs you have, man, but I know that
A lot.
you certainly wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Yes. I try.
So that's AJ over there on the proverbial ones and twos for all those who are watching. He has his face on camera, so you can finally see him. He's not just a voice narrator, if you will. Well, KJ, how was your weekend?
Yeah, my week was cool. More of the same. Definitely working and working on other opportunities as well. And just dealing with the ebbs and flows of life, but everything's cool. Not much that I would actually like divulge and or get into, but everything's cool.
Okay.
Cute.
Overall.
Cool.
Sure. Well, you're here. You're alive.
That's it.
We love you.
I love sports.
Yes. I'm like sports, Anthony.
Like the NBA will be back in a month, so yeah, we good.
Good Celtics basketball. That's the only thing I have to hope for in terms of championship. TW.
Oh man, that sounds hopeful.
Oh, what's good, man? I'm good, man. Blessed. I had a good weekend. Got to enjoy myself, relax a little bit, spend time with loved ones. So I'm good, man. I'm blessed.
That's beautiful.
What's up? And it was a lot of that same. I have no idea what happened this weekend. On that I mean, like, I know we had like several church services. Like, it's kind of a blur. Trying to like just work on some things. It seems like there's always something to do. But this has been a good time to be able to decide what I'm not going to do and tell people no. So it's been
I didn't see that
so
going that way.
So it's a pretty good weekend. So we're here in so like Monday Night Football is the season. Wrestling, it was Monday Night Raw. I was gonna say that's what I was gonna say at the top of the program, Monday Night Raw, but I felt like that wouldn't go over well. So today we're talking about fight versus flight, and how do you decide when to do one or the opposite? So fight. Jesus, this is gonna hurt me. Fight versus flight. Like what? So what exactly do we mean by fight versus flight? If anybody wants to answer.
So I got you. Hold on a second. Let me multitasking, but I'm doing an all right job, I guess. But yeah, so when we talk about fight versus flight, basically they're emergency responses that we do subconsciously. We don't put a lot of thought into them all the time. Basically, it's just something that you kind of find yourself doing. However, I think there are times when the automatic response that we're accustomed to do doesn't necessarily fit the scenario that we're in. So just how do you decide when to do the opposite, or when do you decide when to do the opposite?
So are we talking about are we talking about actually fighting, or you know what I'm saying, or leaving the situation? And so, you know what I mean? Like, are you talking about, like, what exactly are we meaning when we say fight versus flight?
So, okay. No, I was just going to say, I think a fight or flight is just either avoiding or tackling. No?
To me, like, to answer your question, I think it covers literal and metaphoric. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's metaphorically fighting, and or if it's theoretically fighting, and or physically fighting, like, you know what I mean? Like, when I answer, I'm considering all of those.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because, like, just for example, if you wanted to make it like simple, bare bones on the physical, it's like there's a natural response to want to fight if someone tries to rob you, but is it really worth it if you could just pass off your belongings and still know that you can insure your life? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like that would be like a very simple physical example, but you may have. That's why I think like his question is good, because like, when is it smart to do the opposite?
So what are, I guess, an important question to ask, and like what are our natural responses?
I think that's a difficult question to kind of ascertain, because I think it depends on so many different variables. Like, how are you raised? Are you raised to be assertive? Are you raised to be passive? It's very individual. It's like, for me, when I think of fight or flight, I think it's an emotional response that happens in a split second. You know what I mean? If someone drops a bottle, how do they respond to that? You know what I'm saying? Some people are like, oh, somebody just dropped the bottle. But if somebody's had some sort of trauma or some PTSD sort of response, they can respond to that very differently because of your own personal experience, or, you know, the things that have happened in your life.
I think what I mean is because there are several layers to that. So like, you know, like, to fight, if it's time to fight, like, I'm more than willing to do that. If it, you know what I mean, like, but I'm more likely to walk away from a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm asking everybody. Like, what, you know, like, where do you fall in that fight versus flight?
I mean, for me, it's more of a like, when it comes to a confrontation, like, I think it's probably the same thing. When it's physical, then I'll probably be like, I'm down to fight. If you want to fight, that was my kind of go-to statement. If you want to fight, it is what it is. Like, like, if you came here to fight. But when it comes to an altercation, like, I'm not the type of person where I'm looking to fight.
I think the common answer is going to be that it's situational. Like everyone here has someone that they're willing to protect,
Right.
but everyone here also knows that there are going to be times, like you said, in a split second decision where you have to gauge if you are going to follow your natural response to protect, or if you're going to chill, or if you're going to, unfortunately, for lack of better words, take the disrespect on the chin. So, prime example, majority of the people here are parents. If someone disrespected your child, say it was like a teacher, chances are they're going to be able to get away with saying something really dumb. Now, would the person at Walmart be able to say something crazy about your child? Some random person? Now we're probably going to have a problem. You see what I'm saying? Like, the situations dictate the behavior and the response. Whereas if you take a teacher going above and beyond, it still could get that response out of you because they went too far. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you went, so say, for example, if you went to, say, like, the open house, and you're meeting 6 teachers that day, like, 5 of them could all be disrespectful, and then, like, the 6th one was like, I'm going to outdo all of you. They could get smacked. It wouldn't be the best thing, but they could, because they went a little too far. Like, I've been taking this all day, and now this is the straw that broke the camel's back, and you're overdoing it. Like, and depending on what's said, a lot of parents would understand as parents. Like, they'd be like, yeah, she kind of asked for it.
So like what? All right. So what are common situations? I guess then that we, you know what I'm saying, like that where we would like, and what would be your response to said situation? Because it is situational. Like you never know. You know what I mean? But I mean, like I know there's some people who are. I mean, if one that we didn't bring up was freeze. Like some people kind of just shut down. And like they stop talking altogether, or they stop, or they, even if it's a real fight, they just freeze up. Like, so what are like some like what are you more prone to do, I guess, in a given situation? I don't have a scenario that I'm thinking about in my head. If anybody does, you can bring it up.
I'm more, well, I mean, if it's an altercation, I think I'm more prone to try to figure out a resolve, not necessarily fight, like I'm gonna run, but like I'm gonna try to figure it out. And then like if I can't figure it out and we can't come to terms, then I'm just gonna kind of walk away. But like if I'm backed into a corner type of thing, then we fighting.
100%.
So like it basically just depends on situationally, but like I'm going to try to resolve it, or I'm going to try to remove myself because I know who I am when I get upset. So like because of who I am and who I used to be, I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm just gonna take exit stage left real quick.
Nah, I think based off of what you said, it's dependent upon how many options are available.
Absolutely.
Because you said if you were backed into a corner, now a lot of the options have been removed. So at that point, you're kind of left with that. Like you gotta fight. You gotta fight your way out. Like, you know what I mean? Like you've been put in a corner and you gotta swing your way out. Like, and if that's verbally, if that's physically, whatever the case may be, that's why it's not good for a person to feel attacked when you're just trying to have a solution-based conversation, because you will say things that you don't necessarily mean. That's when people start fighting unfair in relationships, because you're trying to get out of the conversation. You feel cornered and you feel attacked.
Sure. I think also it depends on the person's level of emotional intelligence, and the maturity of a person. I think a lot of us would probably say when we were younger, we would be more prone to violence. You know what I'm saying? If somebody says something to you, somebody step on your shoes in the club, it could pop off instantly, right? But as we mature and we get a little bit more mature and we develop more, emotional intelligence, I really believe that there are certain ways to kind of get out of certain situations if you choose to, if you're able to control yourself, right? That's why I believe like mastery of self is super important. If somebody calls me out of my name, that's nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? If somebody called me the B word or said something about my mom when I was younger, it was going to be on site.
that's smoke.
But at
right
this
there.
point, right now, the way I think of that as manipulation. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to invoke something out of me that doesn't necessarily be there. My mom's a beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not a punk, so you can say whatever you want to say about me. You know what I'm saying? You put your hands on me, now that's going to escalate it to a whole different place, right?
Exactly.
But I'm not going to allow somebody's words to dictate my character. because I feel like I have a grasp of my own self, and I'm not gonna allow that to happen. You know what I'm saying?
I think it depends on how quick you can think. Some people are more impulsive than others,
Absolutely.
and the disrespect is still met head on. You know what I mean? So it's like, as soon as you deal, like if that's how you naturally deal with disrespect, and your mind doesn't react soon enough, like there's no telling how you will react. Whereas like me personally, a big thing for me is making sure that a person doesn't lure me into a confrontation with them, that I feel like I'm winning said confrontation, bless you, and beating myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter the case, I want to win in life. You know what I mean? So it's like, right. You know what I mean? So you could feel great in this specific interaction, but I'm not going to like make sure that like, oh yeah, I'm not helping them, even though not helping them actually ultimately hurts me as well. I don't dislike anyone so much that I'm gonna hurt myself.
Right.
So it depends on how quick I can respond. Like if I could think about it and be like, oh, I can see exactly how that sounds like a situation where I would say, nah, I'm not doing that. And then I'm like, oh, but if I don't do that, I won't take this opportunity, but this opportunity could give me $5,000. I could use $5,000. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go do that job. Like, so it's stuff like that.
So like what I mean, how are you able to I mean like I feel like we know, especially to Ralph's point, like we know what we should do a lot of times. And of course, like KJ said, like it depends on how quick you are to think about that stuff. I guess that goes back into maturity, like you were saying. But what are you able to do? There's like, for real, sometimes like I know exactly what I should do or what I should say. I cannot get myself to do it or say it. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, but
like
oh, go ahead.
no, I'm saying like so. I mean, more oftentimes than not, I would rather walk away before that happens. But you know what I mean? Like so. Okay, sorry. Apparently, somebody's close to the end zone. All right. So, you know, like it's like. So we're talking about like the fight or flight. That's what I was saying. Like if anybody has any examples, because I can't think of one right off rip. But it's like, what would you be more likely to do in this situation?
When I was younger, just hopping on to what T Dub said earlier, it was basically like I had no problem with you talking about me. I had no problem with you talking about like whatever. Like you could talk about me all day long, but you were not gonna talk about my family. Like that is the line. The moment you crossed the line, it was on and rocking. So like that was me from my younger self. So like that was like, but then like it was an automatic fight response from that particular thing. Today, like I think we'll probably get you a fight response as if like you were trying to attack my children or something like that.
Of course.
That would probably get you an automatic fight response. Like, all right, you're doing a little too much.
Which
I'm
would
gonna
be
back
you
up.
doing the opposite of typically analyzing the situation.
Correct.
To the point of the question when you say like, when would you do the opposite of what your natural response is?
Right.
Yeah.
So like for me, that would be the opposite. Like, because naturally I would try to diffuse, but if I can't diffuse, and like, if it was my children that were at risk, then it's a fight response. If it was, or matter of fact, we could bring up the whole Kevin Hart when he. So Kevin Hart has a clip. This is an old stand-up where he says that he was at the zoo and they were looking at the gorillas. So he was at the zoo and they were looking at the gorillas, and while he was holding his daughter, and he looked at the gorilla, and the gorilla slapped the glass mad hard. And when he slapped the glass, Kevin Hart said in his mind the gorilla was out. So he took off running, and he said he felt like you feel like somebody like pulling at the back of your neck like they're about to touch you. He said he dropped the baby. Like
It's crazy.
So his flight response kicked in.
Yeah, he flew so much that he forgot to take his daughter.
Right. So like, I mean, like if you're in
That's
that,
terrible.
correct. But like in a dire situation, life or death. Actually, speaking of life or death, that was one of the comments that came up. That was, I believe, I don't know how to say her name.
Where?
Lorinda Leaves.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yup.
Thank you, because I
Dolly.
was gonna butcher that. I was gonna butcher that.
Yeah, we got you.
What did she say? She said, "Whoops. I gotta."
While you're looking for that, I think there was a comment that just came in
Go ahead.
on our YouTube.
Read that.
Oh, me?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Amber commented, sometimes our fight or flight does not involve someone else. You make a decision for fight through a challenge when your first thought may be to run from it.
100%.
100%. And it's, and I was going to touch on that in a little bit, but thank you, Amber. When I was thinking of fight or flight, because I be in my head a lot, and I'm dealing with something even now, like just in terms of being uncomfortable and not wanting to do certain things, but knowing that it's necessary in order to like do the ultimate thing or reach an ultimate goal. So like I'm good with avoiding when it comes to me, like not involving anybody else, things that I want to do, things that will primarily just affect me. If I feel like, if it's just like, I could do without doing that, or whatever it is. Most of the time, I'm gonna not even avoid, because I'm a procrastinator. Again, when it involves me. So that flight thing is, I understand it. But if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to elevate, if you're trying to accomplish, flight kind of has to be out of the picture, Well, I'm teaching myself that I can't keep running from stuff.
That makes sense.
But also, recognizing like where I work, fight or flight is interesting in there. In the jail, like I'm not trying to fight nobody per se, but I definitely know that I cannot position myself to back down. Like you can't, like you really can't. Like I'm not trying, like, and I'm not, again, not being aggressive, but asserting yourself in such a way to where you're being the authority, but you're also being respectful.
Right. Yeah.
And like that is a fine line that not every officer knows how to do.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah,
about
go
that?
ahead. Mm-hmm.
Are you speaking on your interactions with inmates, or are you speaking on your interactions with coworkers?
Both.
Okay.
Very much so both. Because you have to tread lightly, you got to tread lightly with them coworkers. Y'all both got badges, but it'd be a whole different thing. When,
I get it.
When people
All badges
getting
are
their
not
way.
created equal.
Absolutely not. Like
Those badges come off outside.
No.
I'm kidding.
Some people don't like. I think some people got them tatted, on their chest somewhere.
In their soul.
Yeah, for real. Like an officer came in, like
Upside down blue flag, huh?
started.
Go ahead.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was in a block this morning even, and like the officer just came in just raw, and I'm like, yo, I already set the tone. What you doing, brother? Like, and I know that my responsibility in the jail is quite different from a regular block officer, but if you have order, leave it be. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like he didn't like the order. And so, people were just started, becoming abrasive towards him. Oh, no, miss, it's not towards you, just effing and F-bombs and all that, kicking doors and all that. And I'm just like, yo, y'all know I can't do my job if you're behaving that way. I need you to ignore him so we can get this done. And so, people coming out of their cells with attitudes and trying to talk to me, I was like, but you already know I'm not going to help it if you're going to talk to me like that. So here's what we're going to do. And I really do talk like that. And I know I'm not trying to be away, but like, we have to have this understanding, and I'm going to respect you, but you also got to give that to me. Sure. It's just like, all right, I would have given you that honey bun, had you not asked me in the tone that you did, but
Not gonna
do
be
you want
able
to try it
do
again? Okay, let's try it again. And that's just really for me, like that's how I bring them down because
Right.
I'm watching them, put their sneakers on or do whatever, trying to pose a threat to the dude that was behaving a certain way. But I'm like, all right, focus on me, but like make you laugh or whatever.
Right.
Because I'm like, yo, you're about to get your butt beat. You know what I mean? Because of the things that you're saying and doing. But anyway, just saying, in that environment, like when you almost can't do the flight, doing the fight in the right way.
Ooh, that's a
there's
good
there's
one.
just like there's a way to do it. I
That's
feel
good.
like so.
I mean, I think off of what you just said, it's the appropriate behavior, like what the situation calls for. So, the appropriate fight, the appropriate flight. Speaking to the point that Aaron St. Louis said when he was talking about like the flight isn't always a weakness.
Yeah.
I remember him. His comment saying
I
that.
got you. I got both comments pulled up right now. All right. So, how do you say her name?
Lorinda Lees.
See, and I knew I was gonna mess up. Lorinda Lees.
There it is.
Yeah, you said it.
All right, she said, I think our psychology is designed to react automatically. I think most individuals don't have a choice in how they react because they're not in control of their emotions. I think only people with high IQ and high self-awareness are able to control their reaction or in some cases withhold reaction. I also think it depends on the situation itself. If it's something life or death, I find that as an empath, it's much harder for me to control my reactions versus my husband, who's more of a logical and conservative decision maker. I also find that in emergency situations, I react with much more speed than him, which I thought was interesting. And then to go to what KJ was referring for Aaron St. Louis, for me, it's based on the stakes involved. Flight is commonly considered cowardice or used for something we can't handle, but at the end of the day, walking away is a powerful decision within itself. Got to be able to think and feel out every situation if it's worth it to fight or is it better to walk away. And that's in every type of scenario, disagreement with your girls, sticking up for yourself in group settings, altercations, etc.
And I think that goes back to kind of what I was trying to
About
speak
the
to
maturity,
about the mastery of self and the maturity, right? Because we all come to the planet with the same ability and the same level of skills, which is nothing, right? Everything that we're able to do to this point in our lives is a learned behavior. So I really try not to even really get into the whole I can't. It's I haven't acquired the skill as of yet. And if you realize that you're responding in a certain way and it's not to your benefit, it behooves you to learn how to gain that ability because it's all learned. You know what I'm saying? So if you're figuring that, I respond to 4 different scenarios in my life in the same fashion and I'm not pleased with how I responded to these things, it's up to me to figure out how I can learn. You know what I'm saying? Is somebody that's in my circle or somebody that I know that's had a similar situation responding better, how can I glean some information? How can I even just have the courage to ask this person, listen, you handle that in a way that I haven't been able to. You know what I'm saying? What are the things that you learned that have gotten you to the ability level that you're at right now? You know what I'm saying? If somebody has the tools and I'm afraid to ask for them, I'm only a deficit to myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to even work through myself to not have the discomfort of asking people for information if they have the tools and I don't have those. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I'm working through myself. But I definitely believe that it's an acquired skill. Nobody has mastery of self. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you have to become. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Now I'm 100% with you. Like I said from the beginning, like I didn't start this way. Like
None of us have.
honestly, what it really was is I made the wrong decision a bunch of times that didn't end up going in my favor. So
Right.
like getting into fights that I didn't necessarily need to get in, or pushing the matter further when I could have just walked away, and I knew I could have walked away, had the opportunity, and I could go to scripture like God prepares a way of escape for everything. So like there's a way out of every situation. But we have to choose to see it. We have to choose to use it. And a lot of times I didn't. I saw the exit, and I'm like, yeah, I could. Like, I know this is about to go left, but I'm gonna keep going anyway. Like, they said something, and I probably should be quiet right now, but I thought of this real good comeback. Like they had already stung me a couple times. I just want one. I just want my one hit. I just want to get my hits in, and that's really what people do, and that's how they end up messed up. People end up losing fights that way. Like they said something, I hit them once, and I knew the moment they hit me, I was gonna be out cold. But I wanted to be able to say I hit them. like
That's a fact.
That's the Craig and Debo fight right there. Like,
For sure.
Yeah, but
The first half,
the,
please.
the maturity says, you know, I mean,
Right.
in my process, the maturity says, I don't need to get into this fight.
Exactly.
Although everything thought doesn't need to be said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're giving people ammunition that they don't need. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like Mike Tyson didn't think Buster Douglas was going to do it to him. you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He prepared. He thought he had the plan set out, but it went different for him that day.
Right.
And anytime when it comes to something physical, anybody can get it. You know
That's
what I'm
a
saying?
fact.
So sometimes you have to be savvy enough to be like, although I have this quick comeback, or you know what I'm saying, is it really important
Worth it.
enough for
Yeah.
me? Is it worth it to me to get that one comeback
Right.
when I can walk away? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I really don't care. Other people's opinions of me don't really matter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's really the opinion of myself and how I carry myself. And if you think less of me because I walked away and I kept myself safe, so be it. That's your opinion. But I don't really care about your opinion. I care about how I feel about myself. And if I know I'm mature enough to walk away from that situation and that's what's best for me, I'm going to walk away from that situation with my head held high.
That's huge.
You know, I just want to say, I did not think about this question in a physical way at all.
Yeah.
Like, not even once.
Yeah.
And like, I'm hearing y'all perspectives. I'm like, I don't know why. I mean,
Well,
like,
I mean, it's
I didn't think like that.
but it's typically a theoretical term. So
Right,
I
and so,
understand
like, that's- I
you
guess that's how I
answering it
learned it.
in the
Yeah.
theoretical sense, but it's rooted in something literal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? So neither side is wrong to
Right.
answer.
Oh, no.
And,
It's just funny. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, dang, I had a few days to think about this, and I didn't even go there.
I mean, but
Like,
that's the beauty of the perspectives. I mean, because even if you stay on the theoretical side, like one thing that kept sticking out in my mind when I thought of the totality of my interactions and relationships, I was like, it kind of went to what Aaron said in the comment about depending on what the stakes are. I really don't believe, and this is no offense to any previous relationships I had been in, that I cared enough to want to fight in a certain sense when I think of any adversity that may lie in the future for me, because I'm not a person that believes that I'll never have issue.
yeah.
But the fact that I want to power through that makes me look at the situation differently, that I even would want to fight for what I have.
Right.
What is fighting?
as a-
What is fighting for what you have?
In a relationship sense?
I'm saying that because what is it like? What does that mean? I just feel like it's one of those terms that you know what I mean. Like until you're doing it, like then you know what I mean. Like then you can really know. So I'm just
I got an answer. For me, it would be the desire to rectify, the desire to want the person more than I want my pride, to be okay with losing. If it's a conversation, to be okay with agreeing to disagree, to be okay with saying what Terrell just said when everything that's in between your ears doesn't need to come out your mouth. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that I know that I want my lady more than, and I don't know if it was always like that. If I look back, like it's like I might have literally heard something that's like, you know what? That's enough. That's enough for me to fill this bag. Like that's enough for me to not want to answer this call. Like, you know what? I don't even feel like this argument is worth my time. And we're splitting bills, and I can get to that place. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
that's tough.
so what I'm saying is like when you like the older you get, you know what I mean? Like somewhere between the love that I have for my lady and the maturity I have now, like I can see that I don't have even negative responses to altercations. Like I don't have like the, you know what, I'm gonna just start liking some pictures on the gram. You know what, I'm gonna just like, you know what I mean? Like I don't have like these like responses that like I know are naturally detrimental, but I'm mad enough to carry myself in a way that I don't carry myself on a good day. Like I don't do that. Like you know what I mean. So I'm like, wow. Like you know what I mean. Like you look back and you're like, wow, I've grown. Like because I'm just like, yo, I can't even believe that. Like I'm really willing to make sure that I'm operating in such a positive way, even when I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely comes with
So if you're pissed,
maturity.
oh, you got
No,
it.
go ahead.
No,
I mean,
it
no,
does.
I just know before, like I would, like you said before about people freezing, or like, cause to me, part of my flight would be freezing.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, oh, you know what? I don't want to. Matter of fact, I don't think you deserve a response. Sometimes,
And just shut
if
up,
I'm
right?
arrogant
I was
enough,
getting ready to
like
ask
this
you that.
conversation's
So-
stupid.
Yeah,
So you
right.
know what? If you want to act stupid, I'm smart and I don't belong here.
So how do you?
Facts.
So
Like-
based on what you're saying, that's all I was getting ready to ask you. What is the balance between healthy and unhealthy silences?
Oh, I believe all are appropriate, and I believe that it's okay. Like it's okay to be quiet. Like I'm not even. I mean that's very cute when people say they're not gonna go to bed mad. I mean sometimes it's gonna be 11 o'clock at night and we had a disagreement. We can talk when cooler has prevailed, and if a nap helps, I'll see you in the morning. Like we'll be cool. Like you know what I mean? Like maybe we
Naps are dope.
I like that.
I'm just saying, maybe we wake up on a better side of the bed and we talk tomorrow. Like you know what I mean? Like if I want to spend my life with you, like I'm not gonna set up an impossible standard where it's like, yo, imagine I'm tired and we argue first. Like I'm not gonna force you to stay up and be like, keep your eyes open till we learn to get along. Like,
So
I
no,
can't
it's
do
not.
that.
It's not that you can't go to bed angry. The Bible, if we're talking about scripture,
Go ahead.
Not to let the sun go down on your wrath, which is slightly different from being
Different than
angry.
Oh yeah, for
It
sure.
also says anger and sin not.
Correct, right? It says be
Yeah,
angry, but sin not.
right.
Like you can
Be
be
that.
upset and go to sleep. It's okay.
Don't
Exactly.
Just,
Rest.
just don't
However,
be trifling.
right?
Stepping
Don't-
out.
Yeah, don't
doing all the extra
don't be
stuff.
Doing, yeah. If you need if
Sorry.
you need the definition, look up wrath and look up anger so you can see the difference. But yeah, there is a difference.
I think it's important for people to know
Absolutely.
there is a difference.
Let me actually let's
for
look it
me
up.
For me to just go back for a second, when you're talking about fighting for a relationship, I think it's about effort. You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to do the things to show that person that you want to be there, and you'll put their thoughts and their emotions, not necessarily before yourself, but to be thoughtful about what you're doing and how you're showing your things to them. And also just to touch a little bit on the other aspect of it, I think it also goes into intention, because I can be petty. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
When you're in a
No,
relationship with
that's
somebody,
real.
You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Those people that you're in a relationship with, you know their triggers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're saying something and I'm saying something, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be PD Pablo tonight. I'm gonna press your buttons, but my intention is to press your buttons. You know what I'm saying? But when you're in the fight or flight, you know what I'm saying? If you're trying not to do that and your intention is pure, we can have a disagreement. We're not always gonna be buddy. We're not always gonna agree 100% on everything. You know what I'm saying? And I talk about being in the echo chamber. I don't want to be around those people in an echo chamber. I don't want to be in a relationship in an echo chamber. I don't want to have to co-sign your BS, and I don't want you to co-sign mine. I want you to be authentic, and I'm going to be authentic. And we may not always agree because we're two completely different people. But if you know my intentions aren't to be a dirtbag, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to express myself, and it's cool if you're like, I hear what you're saying, but I completely disagree. We can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into a place where I'm intentionally trying to push a person's buttons just because I know I can. Because when you're in a relationship with somebody, you know what their triggers are, you know what their dislikes are, and you can do that stuff to a fault. But you know what I'm saying, going back to the maturity thing, if you're mature and you know this is somebody that I want to spend my time with in my life with, why would I intentionally hurt that person? Now, if we're trying to discuss something and her feelings are hurt because I'm trying to express myself and these are my true intentions on how I feel and we need to work through that, then I may hurt your feelings, but I'm not intentionally, purposefully trying to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I know that, you know, especially having been young and like in marriage, it's like, yo, I know there's just a lot of times when you just not. Sometimes it's, yo, you don't be able to do it. Matter of fact, like a lot of the way that I am right now is like, man, stuff I don't want to, like, I know that I don't want to do because I feel like I already did that, and I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. So when you talk about, you know, not going to bed angry, because that will be a lot of people's advice to you. You know, like when you have your wedding reception,
Yeah, they do
people
say
are allowed to give you advice and stuff. They get up on the mic and say, like, a lot of people are going to tell you to not go to bed angry, but it's like telling somebody to do anything without giving them instructions.
Is that a
So-
church thing?
So
No,
I mean,
I'm asking.
I don't know if it's a church thing because I've heard it at different what, like, you
I've
know,
heard a
people
lot
that
of people say it.
from
No,
different
I'm not
walks
talking
of,
about
you know.
the go to bed angry thing. I'm talking about the
Marital
allowing
advice.
people to give advice like at your reception.
Well, I mean, no.
I mean-
Well, you know, generally when people get like they get on the mic, they say something. They might say, if there's your family, they might say something nice about you, and then something, you know, something that, you know, hey, like, you know, we're hoping that you guys, you know, are
You gonna tie that
that
now.
this works out.
I'm
And
gonna
yeah,
tie that. What was
You
that?
know,
What was
yeah,
it?
but
Coming to America?
but it's like I'm see it. So I'm not. I don't know if it's just a church thing, but I'm saying like not knowing how to, not necessarily knowing how to do that, because it's like, yo, if you have an issue, like, yo, we're tired. Maybe it's 2 a.m. We probably should go to bed. Like, we're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not gonna agree. We're like nothing's getting ready to get settled right now. I don't know. Just what just happened.
That was my fault.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, yeah.
There you go.
I thought we
Nothing's
were
gonna
off.
get-
Sorry, guys.
Nothing's gonna get settled. That was the last thing
It's
you
like-
said.
So yeah, it's like nothing is gonna get settled, but it's like you know what I'm saying? Like just keep having the conversation and you keep going in circles because it's like, yo, for
Yo.
me, and this is very important. You know what I'm saying? Like this is something that, like, I knew about myself. If we cannot have this conversation, but we're not gonna come back to this because tomorrow I'm gonna go to work. I'm just not gonna talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, these, and then like the issues, real life, like they don't always get brought back up, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like something happens, you just start talking, you got this unresolved issue, and you know what I'm saying? Like I've gone for days without talking to her, like, you know what I mean? Because we were both stubborn, set on, you know what I mean? Like, nah, and we didn't just like bring it back up to be like, yo, we need to resolve this thing. Like that wasn't a
Yeah,
thing.
it sucks.
So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it was like, yo, well, I'm not gonna say nothing because I'm upset still, and I don't want to say nothing that's out the way because we're gonna continue to do this, and I'm gonna have to, you know what I mean? Like it's like a third party's gonna have to get involved just in order for us to be able to mediate the right way.
I don't mind personally revisiting a conversation, but please don't revisit a conversation with the same information we've already discussed. Like, I'm not into having a circular conversation over and over and over. Now, if we've slept on it and we're trying to improve, and you had a revelation, or, you know what I'm saying, you prayed about it, or God gave you scripture, and we want to talk about something in a new way to try and remedy this issue, I have no problem bringing that up, because I feel like that's mature. You know what I'm saying? To be able to further on, have a further discussion that's going to be helpful. But if you're going to tell me the same thing you told me yesterday, you can keep it to yourself, because I already heard you yesterday. My ears were open. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that for me. I don't mind continuing conversation, but bring me something fresh and new.
Wow.
Oh, I got the definition. My bad.
What'd you say?
I'm tripping.
I just said wow.
Elaborate.
It was a lot. I took it all in. I just Lord.
Pause.
Yeah, we made it pretty far in the episode.
Man, and I was
There was a lot.
I
There was
so
so much maturity has been exhibited in this specific episode.
Yeah.
Like, wow, there you are.
And like I thought I was saying the right thing because like I was
Oh,
like,
you're saying the right thing.
Please, wow.
Wait, what you just say?
If y'all didn't know, we really enjoy each other's company. That's why we
Oh
vibe like this.
man, I'm sorry, sir. You did some research on some amazing definitions.
Definitions.
Yeah, I got it.
Get back to it.
so there. Yeah.
All right, my fault.
Lord.
So yeah, no, I was saying the difference between anger and wrath. So let me do anger first because wrath is just extreme anger. So it would make the most sense to do anger. So anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. She could be, this is the example, or an expression or result of anger when angry. Is that just re-saying anger? I remember when we were kids, you couldn't use the word in the definition. That used to be a thing.
Hey, when you were kids, you didn't have the definition of everything in your pocket.
That is very true. You won't always have a calculator in your pocket. Yes, I do.
Okay, so I looked up wrath biblically.
Okay.
So wrath is great anger that expresses itself in a desire to punish someone. That kind of further the definition. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, but I think the punish part is the part that
Right. That makes it.
different because like we said, the Bible says, "Be angry, but sin not." But let not the sun go down on your wrath. So basically, trying to punish somebody. So basically, I just had another revelation. So that basically means you can't punish somebody beyond that day.
So if you want to kill someone, just do it.
You gotta do. But that's
before
all,
midnight.
So essentially,
The purge. Okay.
But
Just,
I mean, in the
what did he
court-
just say?
So in
Like,
the court of
don't
law-
tell me I'm not listening.
So in the court of law, you could use that because that's what they do. They plead temporary insanity if you like something.
Separation of church and state. You're gonna have to come up with a better defense, bro.
Listen, don't hire me as your lawyer. I don't know. The law.
Yeah, I was saying,
But he knows the Bible.
You know the Bible. This is a courtroom.
I got you.
We only swear on that.
But yeah, so I mean, so yeah, it's just a difference. So like, you can be angry and go to sleep. It's okay. Like, not to say that you want to make it a habit. You do want to have some type, or you should want to have some type of resolve, basically to get to a place. But I also am like AJ, where I was like, all right, cool. Like, if we can't come to an agreement, then if me keeping the peace about the situation keeps peace, then I'll keep the peace. Like, because I'm not gonna bring it up just so I can be mad.
So
yeah, but it don't keep. My bad.
nah.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I was gonna say.
Everybody, ready to
Nah,
fight.
okay, the only
Chivalry.
no, but that was part of the reason I had even said wow, because it's like it sounded very finite in terms of like, yo, you don't want to hear anything that you've already heard, but you're probably hearing the same things because you're both stubborn. I'm just assuming if that circular conversation is happening, no one wants to fold. And it's like, yo, I can't be the only one folding and trying to keep peace. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you just gotta, it's like a shared responsibility, I feel like. And you gotta just give just a little bit.
I mean, I can understand your point only because just the same way your words would have a certain level of aggression when escalated. I feel like your ears perform differently when escalated as
yo,
well.
you be
So
hearing
there could be a
complete-
benefit in some things being repeated on a more mild, on a more even kill temper, as far as like revisiting things. Because I like me personally, I think there's some things that I would hear better if I'm not as pissed. You know what I mean? So the next day, like when cooler has prevailed, like now, to your point, I don't want to dwell on those things.
Dwelling
On those things would put me right where you are.
right.
But them being mentioned while we're being solution based, I do not want to dismiss my like because I could see me rehashing my point, and I wouldn't want the person I'm with to necessarily be like, yeah, but you talked about that yesterday. Shut up, my nigga. Like, you know what I mean? So I can't be like, yo, Shorty, shut up. Like, you talked about that yesterday. So it's like, okay, both of us get a time to do our recap and be like, previously on Power. Like, you know what I mean? And then, like, we can get to the next episode. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But sorry, go ahead. Nope.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, when you do that, it also gives you the opportunity to like show your person that you actually were listening in that moment when you do repeat. And that's all I wanted to say.
I just want to reiterate that I said early on in marriage, and the things that contributed to the non-communication part. What I was going to say to everybody was saying that is that if you sometimes not saying anything for the purpose of peace allows there to be temporary peace.
Correct.
It also begins the building of resentment.
Correct.
it also begins the building, well, not having been married, just relationship experience. But I feel like it also builds that amount, that large mountain of things that you know how there's mountains that you like chip away at where you're breaking things down. I feel like sometimes those chips are building another mountain. Like, bit by bit, you're building a mountain of things that you don't address. Because, we get along today, so let's not bring that back up.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you have like 5 years of all these things that you never got to because time passed and you was like, oh, well, I'm not going to, like, Netflix and chilling tonight. Like,
Right. You had
she's
great
wearing
sex
those
in
sweats kind of
between.
crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
it'd be messing
definitely not
everything
ruining
up.
this. not gonna be like,
Not
hey,
gonna bring that up.
remember Wednesday's argument?
You get this. I'm saying
Like, while everything's hanging out the shorts, bro?
this is
Like, you see the yams?
this is today's.
I'm not talking
This
food.
is today's knowledge.
Like-
This is today's knowledge. We come from a very different time where you know what I mean, like where it was like, yo, you gotta even you still hear this on TV and stuff now. It's like, yo, you gotta like your person. You're like, or more notably, your wife is always correct. And so you just like you gotta say sorry sometimes. Just what I'm saying, to be able to, and you gotta do you gotta do these things because happy wife, happy life.
I
You
hate
know what
that
I'm saying?
saying.
Of course.
I hate that.
Happy spouse, happy house.
Let me just say,
Appropriate
remix.
as
Yeah,
a
it is.
woman,
That's-
I don't agree with it either.
Yeah,
I
happy
don't-
spouse,
it
happy
don't
house
feel-
is
it
an
don't feel
appropriate
right.
remix.
I'm talking about, but I mean, so I mean, this is at the time. It's 2023, so
Yes.
I know better.
Way
But I'm
more
saying, like,
evolved.
when you haven't done it before in the year 2004, it was very different, very 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 different.
Oh yeah, I
so-
believe I not only were you young, but the advice that you'd get 20 years ago is totally different than the advice that you'd get. Like, even if you were the age that you were when you entered the marriage at like back then, like someone that's that age now
Yeah.
is getting a whole different batch of advice.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because, like, as a people, even though we have a lot of things that we have to get over or whatever, we do have a lot of maturity and a lot of nuanced emotions that are considered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you just go casual, stupid movie stuff, like, it's like Janet Jackson was in the Tyler Perry joint, Why Did I Get Married? Talk about fighting fair. That was a concept that never existed, even though it's in a movie that rings true when you're talking about actual relationships, about like what's below the belt, like what, like when you talk about Terrell talking about buttons, you knowing your partner and knowing the buttons to push and being like, yo, is that really solution based to push those buttons, or am I just being petty in the moment, knowing I can go for these things to get a response out of you? Like, what is that really doing? Like, at the end of the day, like, even like in 2004, there was nobody, no one spoke to you and said, hey, it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem.
Very true.
That's mad casual knowledge now.
Real
To
life,
be
my-
like,
my dad was definitely saying that.
that's fire.
I had
Shout out to
no,
him.
For like, yo, I had no idea. I had no idea how. Like, I'm like, how do you?
This guy was ahead of
how do
his
you have
time.
how do you have a conversation this way? Like, I really, but I didn't
He was a
understand it.
real adult.
My parents said a lot of good things that I really didn't understand, and now leads to, I mean, like, sort of points back to what I was saying before, is that, like, knowing that is not necessarily enough. Like, you know, when T talks about mastery of self, like, it takes practice to be able to do that. Practice knowing how to do it. Like, you know
That's
what I
a
mean? Like,
different
yo,
type
you like,
of
hey, you
commitment.
got something wrong with you? Like, all right, we'll pray. Oh,
I
cool.
think-
Like, how?
I think
You
that's
know
a
what I'm
different
saying?
kind of commitment, to be young and commit yourself to the growth of a person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to be like, yo,
for sure.
like I'm willing to be with who you are and who you're becoming. Like, that's a different kind of promise. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to make that promise necessarily at our latter 30s, early 40s, because, like, you know, like, falling in love with potential is kind of played. Like, that sounds crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna need some proof of concept, bro. Like, you've kind of been on Earth for a while.
I think that goes into the vetting process. And I think we're getting a little bit off topic. But
Oh,
it's
no,
still
for sure.
It's still a dope conversation. Like, this is what we need to do when we're in the dating process. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we argue? What are the rules of engagement, so to speak? Like, when I argue, I have the tendency to do this. I've noticed when you argue, you have the tendency to do that. That doesn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what doesn't work for you, so we know how to communicate when we're on a different page with one another. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But this is important.
Fight.
in the dating process. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get married to somebody if I don't know how they handle stressful moments. You know what I'm saying? I almost want to see some parts of the worst of you so I know I can handle those. You know what I'm saying? Because some of it is just like, nah, I can't flow with that.
I remember.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I remember. I said that
being
when we
like,
had the old
just give me
episodes of
other
the church.
questions that
When
will
I was
just
like,
lead to other stuff. So.
when I was like, "What's your fighting style?" Remember
Yeah,
I said
I remember
that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so important. It's so important to know like where someone will take it, because they may not, like, that may not be what you're down to do. But to your point, that is a question of your fight or flight, because when you are faced with those problems, that's when you find out, like, for the way you're willing to engage negatively, am I willing to deal with that, or do I want to get out of here?
I think
I
even
think
people
we're
ask
living- I
themselves
think
that
we're living
question
in
and
an
just
era
lie to
of flight
themselves.
right now.
Huh?
So I feel like people ask themselves those questions and they lie to themselves. You talking about being able to properly vet somebody? You're like, you know what? I can deal with that. It's a concession that
you
you
know
make
what's
in your
funny?
head that you
I think
probably
it's
should.
better
I think
age
more
too,
people
though.
answer that question than not. You know how they say actions speak louder than words?
Yes.
Ghosting is an action.
It most
And if
certainly
you
is.
decide that you're ghosting someone, that is flight. Like, you're like, yo, this isn't
So-
worth me even sticking around for
Right.
the confrontation. I'm off it.
Right. So I was gonna go into because we had gotten off subject a little bit. But I was gonna say, this guy we talk about him too. Shout out Coop, who
That's
you
my
know what I mean,
guy.
like one of our guys. He said,
Yeah.
he said that he just blocked people and or stopped talking to them altogether, like they never existed. Now this has been this is some of the most some of the greatest advice I've received as an adult, because although it's simple, you know what I'm saying, like it's just like the way, I mean, he's a master at it. He's like a black belt and just you know what I'm saying, and like kicking the negativity up, like he you know what I mean, like as soon as you know what I mean, like, but like how it gets to a point where you're like I'm doing this often because I don't like the way that this conversation went.
But
You know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
that,
Like I don't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's done wonders for me.
I think
Blocking and you know what I'm saying? Not pretending like people don't exist, just forgetting about them.
I think nuance is important, because if you go back to a word that you said was important when you're looking at your mate, not wanting to be in an echo chamber. Some people will take his advice, which is built in self-preservation and to make sure that you're not in like ridiculous amounts of confrontation, which is like, okay, block people. And they'll use that to create an echo chamber for themselves where they're only comfortable. So you do have to be, like, in my opinion, you have to be nuanced where you're learning how to welcome differing opinions that are respectful to you, even if they don't agree with you.
Right. People who actually are still pouring in to you in such a way.
But that's where your audience is very important, because when he's talking about emotional maturity, he, like, the listener of the message is mature enough. So when your guy's talking to you about blocking people, you're not saying, well, if they don't agree with me, block them. That's what homie said. You're mature.
Right.
So you're not limiting it to that. But if someone's less mature than you, as soon as they hear that, they're like, oh, so that's how you maintain peace? Cool. Well, I said the world is this way, and the homie said that, so block. That, block. And before you know it, like, you're just creating an echo chamber. Like, that's just how it is.
I think another thing that also pulls the point back to the topic, understanding the fight or flight response to the person that you're courting or you're dating. Because if you guys get into an altercation and you're set to fight, but the other person's set to flight, you might be ready to be like, all right, we're gonna talk this out. We're gonna, like, cause how many people get into relationships and they be like, oh, we got into an argument late at night and I wanted to talk it out, but the other person was like, nah, I'm straight. Like, because you guys fight differently. Going back to your point, like, because you got
your audience.
right, knowing that, all right, I'm set to fight, but this other person's set to flight. Like, I can't use the same tactics that I would normally use. Like, I have to be like, all right, cool. Instead of, maybe I give them some time to cool off. I give myself some time to cool off. And we can come together, and then it doesn't have to be emergency response. It can just be something that we pick up on. Or the opposite. If I'm set to flight, but my girl's set to fight, like, all right, maybe she has to take down. Or maybe we get to a place where, like, all right, cool. Let's give me like a 15-minute break. And then we'll come back and, like, Like, because there has to be, as we talked about in other episodes, there has to be some type of what's the word I'm looking for? Respect, but also compromise.
That's I was waiting for you to say it. I was like,
though. I mean, like, not to be that guy. I'm just
wait,
saying,
what'd you
like,
say?
I said respect could be breaking up though. I'm saying
True.
You can't compromise in some situations, but like yo, you on what Terrell's saying, like yo, you're vetting and you know what I mean, like and I see that there's a different fighting style for, you know what I'm saying, like it's like I might just not want to do that. Like I've you know what I'm saying? I'm cool, and I'm cool with the way that you do it for you. I'm happy the way that you do it, but maybe it's not a thing that I can do. I feel like being able to be honest about what you can do and can't do is important.
Yeah, but
And I don't mind that approach. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I need to see a little bit of a pattern. You know what I'm saying? I'm not so quick to cut people off, especially if it's somebody that I feel like I can grow and I can build with. But if we've had a discussion and I've expressed myself and you're continuing to show disrespect, or you're continuing to show me that you're not loving me in the way that I feel like I deserve, and it continues to happen over and over when I've expressed myself to you, that's when I'm willing to
Well, it's
shut
not
the
even
door on
disrespect. I mean, I'm talking about conflict resolution skills.
Yeah,
we
can
do it
multiple fights, though.
different ways. And yeah, and it's like those times. Like, all right, so
Yeah, I'm not willing to
now
give
I
up
have to
on
be
somebody
like,
after
I gotta
after first
change.
beef.
I gotta change because I want to keep this. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be on both sides, right?
I mean that's the problem. I mean, like, you're never gonna. It's two individuals in trying to share one life. So you never know if it's gonna work or not. Like, unfortunately, like, you could have done all the mental gymnastics that you need to decide that you are ready to go, and you could be like, you know what? Evidenced by everything we've been through, I'd like to break up. She could look you square in your eyes and go, no.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's still,
I'm not the only person that's heard this before.
that's still a her problem. Yeah, that's a him problem.
100%.
If I'm
Yo.
telling you that I'm no longer invested in this relationship that we're having, if you can't accept that, that's on you, baby girl. You know
I'm
what I'm
just
saying? I'm
saying.
telling you where I'm at.
if
You
you
can
want
tell
to
me no
leave,
all day.
leave. That's how, right. That's
You know what
I
I'm
don't.
saying?
And
I don't
it's
care
I
if I
know
gotta
that
change.
it's not begging, but like the
They
reality is
do
it's
that,
like,
though.
yo,
People do
I
that.
if you come to me and you say that, I have to respect that. Because you took the time to come and say all that to me, and I'm gonna tell you.
You know, there's
no.
a population of people that don't feel the way you feel.
I know that. I know that, but
And I'm
like,
talking, and gender roles could be reversed.
So
I'm just letting the
right.
listeners know, like, you know what I mean. Like, it could definitely be women saying, "Yo, evidence by."
So even
I'd like
if
to
I
break
feel
up,
like-
and homie's
right.
like, "No."
but even if I feel
Yo.
like it's a
You go to
situation with
extremes too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't cut you off.
even if you feel like even if I feel like I feel like, you know, you're just you're in your feelings. If you come and say that to me, even though I know this is probably not the thing and it'll probably work itself out, and I do love you that much, if you're coming to me and saying that to me, I'm going to grace you with that. I'm going to give you that because that's what you're asking for.
Shout out to you.
I'm just saying, but like, but no, because it's really like, if you've gotten to that point and you feel like you could look the person that you love in the eye and say that, and this is like, I mean, and maybe not even if you're not in the in love phase.
I feel you when you say that you're giving them grace, but in the same way that they've come to you with that, if you've made the conscious decision for yourself that it's a wrap,
That's what I'm saying.
don't you owe it to yourself to stand on your square and be like, I've evaluated this relationship. It's not what I want moving forward. I feel like you're a good person. You're just not my person.
And right, and if
Yo,
if
you know what I
someone
love?
really
The
feels
wording
like
is
that,
never
then-
like that.
No.
like
Yo,
that.
AJ. You know what I love? Yo, the thing is, like, all those mature words that you said, yo, emotionally healthy people are not only the sole owners of those words.
True.
Like there are people that have bad moments that have read good books. like you know what I mean? And like they could use all those words to craft like a very articulate argument as to why you're gaslighting, or as to why you're manipulating,
Listen.
or oh, that's just your escapism.
that makes you like,
I'm not about to
like,
protect you, like-
that's your escapism, and like I know your trauma and your abandonment. So right now you just need to be understood and held a little bit. Like no, actually I need to go. Like, like you know what I mean? And like to act like that's not necessarily a valid thing because like all these beautiful words, like it's like you could literally write a 4-page letter like scored by Aaliyah, and like it will be amazing, and like she can write hers with the same help, and like and you'd be like wow, like she'd be like yo, this is why I should leave. She'd be like actually this is all why you should stay, and he'd be like whoa.
Yo, and I was gonna like, because we're talking about the good, but like some people's fight response is extreme. Like, cause like there's other situations where people be like, oh, I'm gonna hurt myself. Like, oh, if you leave me, I'ma hurt.
Manipulation.
Right, manipulation at its finest. Like, if you leave me,
There's
I'm
a
gonna
new
hurt
hospital in
myself.
the area called Valley Springs.
Listen. But no, like, but these, like, if I'm just being honest, like, these are things that we come
Dudes do
across
it
when
too.
we're younger. Like, I didn't know that you could call somebody. Like, I didn't know, like, I could call 911 and be like, yo, so and so said they're gonna hurt themselves.
Yeah, it's a manipulation tactic, though.
Right. Well, that's what it is. But like, how
Calling
do you
crisis
know?
on your
Like,
shoulders.
and it's like, because like, if you're a good person, you want to believe like, yo, I'm just gonna do this just so they don't hurt themselves. It's a manipulation tactic, and they are sucking you in. But
Whoa,
my bad.
what?
That's manipulation
Stay on topic.
too.
I thought
My
this was a
bad.
disagreement.
It is.
Oh, Lord.
I'm so susceptible.
It was very effective.
Easily manipulated, you guys. Wow.
Pokemon move
Distracted.
My bad.
What argument? Everything's so blurry. My eyes don't work as well on this emotional high that you put me on.
But yeah, so like, basically they use that, and then like for kids that usually it happens to kids. Usually it happens like high school, maybe fresh out of high school, college, first couple of years, like where you encounter somebody who's like, yo, I'm gonna hurt myself if you leave me, and like it kind of like. If we was playing chess, like that's the first check. Like you're like, yo, wait a minute, hold on. Like I'm not trying to have somebody's death on my conscience, kind of thing. But knowing these things helps. Also knowing that you can call somebody for help. You can,
But you spoke to learned behavior earlier,
yeah.
and like that is a learned behavior.
Yeah.
Like you know,
Actually, you are right.
if you hear that level of fear tactic in your
Abandonment
parents,
issues.
in your parents, like if you hear someone pull that, if you leave, I'm gonna hurt myself. Maybe you say it, or maybe when you hear it, you're like, oh, this is love. Like you don't know, like you know
Or
what I
if
mean?
you've seen it work, you're definitely gonna use it.
Oh, 100%.
Oh man, all right. Put that in
Like
my
Big
notes.
Joker. Like trust me, man, you be feeling that tote, kill yourself.
Yo, that's wild.
Like, wow.
That is wild.
We're not laughing at suicide.
We're not.
Right.
Not
You're
at all.
not.
There's a number
Where did you
I will
point
get
to?
the
in the
suicide
comments.
hotline number.
Add
It's
it
in the
later.
comments.
No, maybe. It was better than being dismissive.
But yeah, I was gonna say too, like, in that same with that same idea in mind, like, people will threaten to harm you as well. As
Yeah, I was gonna say that domestic violence definitely stems from those type of situations.
when you try
Now,
to leave, oof.
now think about it. Like we're talking about theoretical fight or flight, and then we talked about physical fight or flight. Now imagine if normalized and or learned behavior in a relationship was to physically not allow someone to be away from you. So that we're not talking about anyone or any example. We can go to like a movie that we've all seen. And he was like, yo, if you die, I'm going to kill you. he was absolutely insane. like
That's
if
a
you-
wild statement.
like if you can go that level of far, and what's love got to do with it? Like now, if you're employing any of those type of tactics in your relationship, or you've seen that and you're like, oh, okay, so that's how you love your lady. Like, you know what I mean? Like now, when you add that, like you're like, yo, I know you're not about. Like he said, yo, I know you're not about to give up on me. Everybody's giving up on me. He said that. Like, what you gonna do? Give up on me like the rest of the month? He said that in the movie. Like he was manipulating her. He was attacking her ability to fly, and using it as a fight tactic. Like he was going crazy in a short sentence. Like he was very efficient. Like he was like clicking on all cylinders. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, yo, not only am I taking away your power, but I'm also using it to kill you. Like, you know what I mean? Like it took a lot for her to get to a point where she could actually be like, nah, I'm actually gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's scary, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Like you'd be like, oh, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and then somebody blockades the door, and it's like, oh,
That's another one.
can't leave, huh? All right, I guess I'm just gonna stay in this relationship then. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Eat
Like,
cake anime.
What'd you say?
Eat the cake anime.
Yeah, that's when you gotta poison people.
Jesus.
Nah,
Yeah.
for real though, we don't take this conversation where
Correct. So we
don't take it lightly. But
Fly by any
in a
means.
situation like that, to protect oneself, I would suggest use the technology you have at hand and video record.
Absolutely.
Whatever kind of statements are happening at that time.
Thank you.
Because if they are
Yeah.
taking those things very seriously, at least you have the visual evidence. And right now, most of us have the ability to have a camera right in our phone. So if somebody is preventing you from leaving, you feel unsafe, they're making unsafe statements to protect yourself, one,
100%.
and to protect the other person. Because if you can bring them to crisis, you could call crisis, and they can be like, oh, I was playing, they're manipulating, that's not what was said. When you have the evidence,
right,
real is real.
and that's a huge
Or,
thing.
yo,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say like that's when flight is probably the best idea.
Yeah.
Flight is
It's just
definitely
like,
gonna be-
I mean, I
Which
used to work
circles
at
back
a,
to the initial conversation where it's like, when is it appropriate to do the opposite? Shout out to you for having the wherewithal and the stick-to-itiveness to be able to fight for your relationship.
Yeah.
But this is a great time to do something different.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what T said was huge. Just having that proof, that evidence, because you don't know. You got to protect yourself first. So, like, if somebody's saying they're willing to hurt themselves, hurt you, or anything of that nature, in order to protect yourself, have that for you. So, in the event that anything happens, because manipulative people don't just manipulate you.
Right.
So, don't be a
I mean,
victim.
the best have manipulated themselves.
That's
Okay.
very good truth.
Like, to believe what they're saying in order to lie to others and tell them what is the new truth.
The new truth.
Is that like the new King James?
Definitely. Just written, fresh off the press.
That's wild. But yeah, so just understanding that we don't take these things lightly. We're laughing and joking about it, but a lot of this comes from me, at least. A lot of this comes from experience. I was in this position before, so I can laugh at it, but now because I'm like, yo, these people is wild. But not to laugh at it, because people do really need help. People do really have problems that they're going through, and not to say that all the people that do these manipulative things are horrible people, but they are struggling with something that they're trying to battle and fight from, and a lot of times they just don't know how.
Right, it's probably a demon.
So forgive them, give them some Jesus, give them some prayer, but you get out of there.
No, for
Yeah,
sure.
you can want them to get better from far.
Right.
There's a lot
Safe
of people in that
distance.
situation that have a hard time getting out of it, and they sort of justify the, like sticking to it. I'm gonna fight for this relationship, and just, I mean, like in their kind of, when you're, I'm because it's different, like us talking, like talking about that, but then like people, when you're in that situation, is like, is very
different
It's
when-
very
when
difficult.
Completely
I've seen,
enthralled in something. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm, just people want to do that, but like that's why we said the best thing is to take flight. Like there's not really a whole lot that you can do in that situation, and it'll be, what I mean, like even with the, like you're recording them, and doing that stuff is like that is the thing to do. A lot of times in those situations, they don't want that person to go to jail. They don't want them to get in trouble.
Very true.
But like they end up just kind of, you know what I'm saying, like in that cycle.
Yeah.
Another thing that happens a lot of times is people, they're trying to save that person. So I feel like I can save them, I can change them, I can do all these things. If you're a Christian, what I'm gonna tell you is we can't do everything. There's a reason why we're Christians. We're called Christians because we're trying to be Christ-like or like Jesus. And Jesus didn't do those things of his own strength. He did them of his Father. It was by God that these things were changed and that these miracles happened. Like, it was by God's power. Not necessarily. It's Jesus, too, because, they're one and the same. But it wasn't of his own strength while he was in human form. And I think it's important to know that because you don't want to basically overextend your fight because you feel like you can do something that you can't do. And that was the purpose of the question, to say that there are times where fighting, when you're used to fighting, isn't always the answer, and fleeing isn't always the answer as well.
Do y'all mind if I
Amen.
change
it's
things
church
from the relationship aspect?
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to counter something Siobhan spoke on earlier about the assertiveness that's required for her job. Now, I think that it's important just to be responsible here, just to offer a little bit of nuance that like sometimes other jobs, like it may just be like a better choice to pick your battles. I don't know if picking your battles is necessarily the way to go at your job. You know what I mean? Where like there's there are like for me at my job, there are some issues that are like very small in the bigger scheme of things, and like I will be like, I don't even care. Like, 'cause sometimes I can see character flaws in the people that I'm having an issue with, and I'm like, oh, I'm just feeding into that flaw if I meet it with confrontation and or fight. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll just be like, oh, whatever, I'll let that pass. But I don't work in as hostile, for lack of better words, hostile environment where like my assertiveness is so important. Like, actually, I work in the opposite.
Gotcha.
Like where like my compassion is more important in the residential setting with the clients that I work with. So oftentimes like de-escalating is like more important than meeting it to snuff something out.
Right. But just to be clear,
No, go ahead.
that de-escalation, I think, is a part of the fight as well. Is a version of the fight.
Okay.
I would think.
No, I'm
I was gonna-
listening.
You know,
I was
okay.
gonna
I'm
say,
listening.
I can agree with that
We have
statement.
we have a similar job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he does it all the time.
Right. And I mean, so it's like, and so when I was saying the assertiveness, it's just like you really, because you are the authority, you have to address you have to address almost everything.
Absolutely.
And that's really what I meant. And I didn't mean in such a way where you can't be empathetic or you can't de-escalate with words and whatever. But it's like they're really like the flight may cause more damage or create a situation
Correct.
more than
I give a shout out to my buddy DT. He coined the phrase when he saw some of the skills that I possess. He called me passionately confrontational. Right?
I like that. I like that a lot.
I can be respectful.
I like
You
that
know
a
what I'm
lot.
saying? But I'm also going to hold the standard.
I like
Because I
it.
have a job and you have a job. You know what I mean? In our environment, their job is to get away with and break the rules as much as possible. And my job is to maintain said rules. So there's always going to be a level of conflict there, right? But they also know what the rules are. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
I love
it's
that
it's
term.
my job to maintain the rules, but I'm not going to be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I understand the temperament of the people in my environment. I understand that some of them have been using substance in their frontal lobe where all the cognitive decisions are made isn't functioning at its proper level. You know what I mean? And sometimes people just get a thrill from doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? That's the lifestyle that they come from. But I have to maintain the standard, and because I'm maintaining the standard doesn't mean that I'm going to be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I call most of the guys that I deal with gentlemen. You know what I mean? A lot of times they're like, "Yo, I'm not a gentleman." He said, "You can say that, but I'm going to treat you like one anyway."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They'll be catching wreck or fooling around or having fun with one another. You know what I mean? Oh, I don't mess with KJ. You know what I'm saying? Yo, White, you don't mess with KJ, right?
Snort?
You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell them, listen, I rock with everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Even people that snort?
Fact,
Yes.
100%. A lot of times it's out of their control.
Thank you.
A lot of times it's out of their control. You know what I'm saying?
That's their
That was quick.
population. Okay.
That's how they have. It's how you have to handle the situation. You know what I'm saying? When you're, especially when you're an authority in said location.
Nah, I'm literally like keeping that phrase. Shout out to what'd you say your friend's name?
DT.
Shout out to DT for that
I know.
because that's fire.
Yeah, he's a beast. I've learned a lot from him, and hopefully he's learned a little bit from me as well.
Like if I think of the way I carry myself, that probably defines it. Because I've never backed down from anything, but I always thought that there was a decent way to go about not backing down from anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm with it. It got quiet.
Yeah, it did. Okay. Well, see, that was kind of a snort. No?
No, it was like a snicker.
So I kind of want to touch back on something Siobhan said earlier as well. When we started this conversation of the fight or flight, you said that it came from a perspective where it was more physical, right? And I think coming from the male perspective, I can see how we do that because in almost every interaction that we have with each other as men, there could become a time and a space where it could become physical. You know what I mean? I think almost every man notices when it gets to that point. We could be cool, we could be having fun, we could do, but at some point on some time frame, you know what I'm saying, depending on how the conversation is going, it could turn, you know what I'm saying, where it could become physical. Now, coming from the female perspective, you may not deal with that as frequently. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the topic when you were thinking about it earlier in the week, because you said that you weren't really thinking about it from the physical, more combative standpoint.
Yeah. So like I think I had mentioned it at the top of the show, where it's just like it was either you're addressing or you're avoiding, and that was really my fight or flight perspective. Because like you said, I feel like as females, it's like you come out conditioned to talk. It's like, and I don't know why that is, but just being so. I forget what happened, but fairly recently I was just thinking about a situation with an old friend of mine, and her and I had a falling out because she had said something off the wall, and I
liked the album?
decided,
Oh,
huh?
my fault.
That's cute. I had decided that the commentary was so severe, in my opinion, that I shouldn't continue to have any type of conversation at all, because I felt like she had cut really deep, and I'm like, oh. Now, and this is someone who I'd known since I was 3 years old, and like, and so because of the length and the
Yo, go ahead.
depth of
Yep,
the
you about to say it. You about to say it.
of the friendship.
Oh no! I'm not even talking. I'm being mad mature. I promise you. Like I was literally speaking to the point that like I think that gives people more license to feel like they can offend you in ways others can't
Right.
because of the tenure of time.
Right, and I
of the
say that
relationship.
often. Like I feel like where you're most secure and where you have the most support is where you act out a little bit, just like little kids. It's like mom and dad are here. I'm about to act a complete fool, because it's safe, you know. And I do believe she felt like she could just say anything, but there are boundaries. There are limits to the things that you can say. But anyway, I had a falling out, and normally it's a like we're gonna like. I had known her so long, and we were so close. Like when we beefed, we just beefed, and it was an argument, it was a whatever, and then we were laughing at the end of that. But what she had said to me was, I couldn't, and so I was out. I was like, oh, this is not a friendship that I think I can maintain after those words came out your mouth. And then she wasn't very apologetic afterwards. So, but yeah, so like that type of fight or flight, like, do I, continue to have the back and forth and resolution-oriented conversations or arguments or whatever, or like in that situation, I was just like, I'm good, I'm good. Or like at work, oh Lord, I have a female boss that I don't care for, and
Allegedly.
no,
Yeah,
this is
she might
these are-
watch.
no,
I was just doing that for
and
HR.
but no,
Yeah,
we're unionized. No.
Niggas
I'm
got
good.
niggas got foreigners outside. I ain't want to. I ain't want
we
them
got
people. Not me.
I'm okay.
I'm just saying I ain't want them people coming.
But no, we don't. It's like it's not unspoken. Like it's a very clear. Like but I'm very respectful. I am, but I don't talk to you. Like
Word.
you come in the room, I'm quiet. You're not gonna hear me talking to my other coworkers while you're in my space. For good reason. But I just like, just being mindful of who you're dealing with. I think the fight or flight can switch. Like I'm prone to fight. I'm prone to conflict resolution. I'm prone to working things out. But there are very certain specific situations where I was like, I'm good.
Word.
I'm good. I'd rather not.
Gotcha.
So I mean, if we're looking overall at the many directions in which the conversation went, I would say that everyone should take away that it's okay to be subjective with your ability to fight or flight. It's a very case by case thing. Some things are going to require one thing of you, and try your best to be, like you would say, a master of self, so that in those moments you can go with your gut.
Sure. I think there is one small space that we didn't touch base on, and that's the internal struggle. Yeah. Right. What about the fight, flight, or freeze internally? For example, let's say work, a promotion comes up. You know what I mean? How do you handle that? Like, I think I'm capable. I don't know what happens in that side of the department. You know what I mean? Like, do I fight through the fear of the unknown to go take a risk? Do I stay frozen, in my current role because it's what's comfortable, or do I fly from it? You know what I mean? Take flight and just say, oh, that's not for me because I don't know enough about it.
I think it all depends. I mean, it reminds me of what Siobhan said earlier when she was talking about, at that moment you can use the fact that you're a procrastinator, and it can help you fly away from being goal oriented.
Sure.
As opposed to like I think sometimes you have to see yourself at the end of something and know that you can't get there without fighting your natural instinct to avoid things in between. You'll never get to the end if you don't fight the. Oh, really? That's crazy. Listen, guys. This is the part where one of the AJs.
No, but I see what you're saying. It's almost like running a marathon, right?
For sure.
In the beginning of the race, there's no way to see the finish line, and when you're in the middle of the race, you can't see the start line or the finish line. For
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
there's that moment, and you get in that race where it's like, yo, there might not be anybody else around me. Do I keep running? How do I pace myself? You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
Like what's needed from me mentally to push to push forward in this place where I'm obviously uncomfortable, because that's what a marathon is pushing your level of comfort. You know what I'm saying? So like in a marathon of life, you know what I'm saying, when you have to make these difficult decisions, what keeps you in the fight?
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
So my homegirl Tia, she had commented on the question earlier, and it just fits with what he had brought up. She said, you definitely have to get to a point where you're ready to see different results and take a chance, because you never know what the outcome is if you never try.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tia.
And that is a person doing the opposite.
Right.
You know, to the B part of the question. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when are times when you should do the opposite? Like, when you really feel like the person that you see at the end needs you to do something that's opposite of your natural instinct in the beginning to get there.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say is, if it comes to promotion, I am 100% flying to that promotion because I feel like I'm entitled to everything.
Fly too.
Listen, right. I'm going to fly because I don't believe I have to fight. I believe that I've already done all my fighting. I believe that my work speaks for itself. I believe that that I also believe that whatever God has for me is for me. So like I walk into it with the utmost confidence. Like
That's
like,
real.
it already belongs to me. And if I don't get it, like I had one instance where I didn't get it, but the person that got it was the person that trained me. So like it was a humbling effect because I'm like, I can't really be mad at that. Like he's the reason I got to where I'm at. But just understanding like, all right, cool, but there was still something. Like I could have jumped over him. It probably would have been rude, but like I could have. I'm like, there was something that he was doing that I quite wasn't. So just like understanding self and then like knowing how to go towards the mark of the high calling.
It's that press towards the mark.
He said he wanted to preach, so
That's the book.
that most certainly is.
And for everybody who doesn't know, the mark of the high calling is in Sharpie, permanent marker.
Oh wow. Profound.
Go ahead. Oh, we good? All right. I'm having a hard time.
Are you? No,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yo,
Yeah.
what?
I'm tired. Oh goodness, I'm tired. I'm sleepy. This is great.
Yeah. Yo, shout out to everybody that is I think we're rapping slowly. Are we getting there? It sounds like it. So shout out to everybody that's shout out to everyone that's giving comments on the YouTube. Just know that we have a Logic Based Collective Facebook page where we are going to be previewing the topics and creating conversations for all of our listeners to join in and speak to each other throughout the week, and we will all meet here Mondays as we have been.
Yeah. Also, we don't say this enough. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like,
share, and
share, and subscribe, comment.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Or
all. Like I said, for
dislike,
everyone
share,
who
and
did.
subscribe.
Continue, please.
I said, or dislike, share,
or
and subscribe.
dislike, share, and subscribe.
Right, tell people how much you don't like us.
Yeah,
Well, none that you
we
mentioned.
encourage that. We're not going to fight on that. Like, that would be a lot of
We encourage all walks of life.
fighting situations. There's no fight.
Yes.
We can't go anywhere for an hour and a half.
Just don't
So
ignore.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it.
Right.
Leave a reaction.
Engage.
So any church announcements? I love that I get an opportunity to say the hour is far spent.
Oh gosh.
Like anything coming up. You know what? There is something coming up. In the coming weeks, so perhaps we'll get an opportunity to talk about it. But Siobhan is doing
Yes.
an event on pregnancy and infant loss.
Is that
You can
next
talk
Saturday?
about that.
It is October 7th.
Yeah, that's next
As
Saturday.
October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So we're going to get together from 12 to 2 and just talk. Just have conversation around the topic. I know that it's uncomfortable to talk about, but that's the point. So we're just trying to create an environment where you're able to learn, you're able to share, and people are able to gain knowledge just for any future situation that may happen to themselves or their loved ones, and you're able to pour into them without being afraid. So there's that. So come through. It'll be at our church, 336. I was going to say Worcester Street, Springfield Street, in Springfield Deliverance Center Ministries. I hope to see you there. It'll be a great time because I'm going to be there.
Obviously.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
October 7th.
I mean,
Well, I guess
It's going
eventually
down.
It would be great if we were able to have a conversation about that. That's something that.
Yeah, you know what?
I can definitely speak from the male perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are down, I mean, since it is next week. If it's okay with you guys, if we could maybe talk a
Yeah.
little bit about it next week.
Absolutely.
I mean, not solely about dead babies. I say that very casually.
Yeah.
I know
It's
that
not
some
good.
people can't handle that term. I say it because
You said
I can.
pregnancy and infant loss, so it's pregnancy in there too.
all right.
Like,
Well, I'm
you
gonna
know,
say what
mean,
I said.
I can't speak.
She said,
speak to
"I
that.
said what I said."
I said what I said, but that's the point. It's not to be disrespectful or anything like that, but there are a lot of moms who have been through this, and those
I
are
mean,
just
that's-
terms that
that's-
we use.
That's
So.
just the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
It's just calling it like it is.
Right.
And I think it is very important because somebody could be going through the same thing and just not know how to cope with it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah. So, oh, good. I hope so
I
too.
got you.
I like it big. So yeah.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about some heavy topics, suicide came up a little bit, pregnancy and infant loss. Shout out to Khadijah Tuitt and Intuit Behavioral
Absolutely.
Health, one of our friends to the show.
Yes.
If anyone ever needs anyone to talk to, she's an amazing resource. So shout out to you, Khadijah, and the things that you do to help out the black folks in your community. We appreciate you and we love you.
Thank you. Yes.
Absolutely. Khadijah was on the show. I don't remember what episode that was. We got to start numbering our episodes. But,
Just go to the channel; it's on there.
It definitely is. It definitely is. If you want to
During
get to know,
Mental Health Awareness Month.
yes,
And
it was.
if
It
you
was
can't
during
find
June.
it, just continue to watch till it pops up.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you watch them all, you won't miss it.
Exactly. But definitely check out that episode if you didn't get a chance to watch it. It was very intuitive. Just letting us know.
I see what you did there.
That was smooth. That was very smooth.
Well, it was very thought provoking. But just to see who she is, to get a feel for her, because she was very welcoming. She was very transparent, and she just let people know that these things are real. They do happen every day, and there are people there willing to help you and willing to help you with other things as well. I believe she talked about other facilities that she wasn't even with, that she said they will also help you and find you somebody who's good for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be her, is what another thing that she talked about. So check out the episode. I advise you to just go see her because she's just cool peoples. But if you don't want to, definitely check out the episode, get the resources that she gave, and we'll go from there.
Amazing resource.
Right.
Spread the word.
Store.
Spreadthegoodword.com.
You know it. Listen.
I like this.
Listen.
This is nice.
Wear the gospel so you don't gotta say it, or say the gospel and then wear it just in case you forget what you was about to say.
That's right.
No
Just in
pun.
case you wanted, you know,
Right.
you look down your T-shirt or your hoodie.
Right.
Say like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah, I mean, it helps.
Just in
it
case you
helps.
forget.
Actually, I'm wearing one of my hoodies on right now. I had somebody stop me in the middle of the day and be like, "Hey, what's your hoodie say?"
I saw it. It's true.
I'm like, yeah.
It's the thing that happened. Yeah. So, anything else? Once again, we're asking you to like, share, and subscribe whatever platform you're watching on. Like, share, and subscribe to Logic Based Collective on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook. The Logic Based Collective. 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 On YouTube and on Facebook. Soon to come to other platforms, but until you subscribe and like and share, we're not doing it. If all hearts and minds are clear, the hour is now 11, after 11 p.m. We're gonna go, but we hope that something that was said will help you. Hopefully, something that was said was something that you will be able to carry with you. I know there were quite a few things to be able to take away from this conversation. A couple guys said some things that I really liked, and so if you haven't seen the full episode, you probably go back and watch it because you can see some of the stuff I'm talking about. As always, we'll be back next Monday, and we will same bad time, same bad channel, and until the next time, it's like every other week, allow Jesus to be the lotion that lathers your ashy soul. Peace out.